right side of the field can't handle you right now. So keep
eating in your sleep.
Well done! Well done! Wilson! Wilson! I'm sorry!
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough.
Episode 734. We're back at it again. Dan Salas with me, and also in studio is Anthony Hidalgo. Dan, who's with me, is Coach Corona del Sol. 18 seasons, right?
19.
Holy
no
crap.
longer.
Over 200 wins. Central Region champions 2009, 2010. State champions in 2010 with a 24-2-1 record. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. It's Sunday night.
Yeah.
No good weekend.
And you had a migraine, I heard.
I did, but I made it here.
And he still made it. That's commitment level I love. And Anthony Hidalgo, captain of the Phoenix College Bears, helped lead the Bears to 3 national championship runs, All-American, and 2-time, I don't know, you won state twice at Brophy? 3 times or twice? Twice. So Anthony is with us. He was a top 11 player out of first national run. He's going to Gonzaga University to, what are they called? The Zags?
Yeah, Zags.
And their basketball team is out.
Sadly, they lost. They
Yeah.
got flown out.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gonzaga, when are we going to go Coach Kelly here on the pod?
Oh, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's bring him on.
Sure,
That's
he has a lot
it.
to say.
Coach Kelly,
Coach Kelly, if you're listening.
So next week I have Greg. I have Greg Johnson from Chandler Gilbert, or excuse me, Gateway, and he coaches at Arsenal. And then the director of coaching, David Belfort, will be on.
Dave Belfort's a good buddy of mine too.
Oh, good. Tell him not to be scared. He wants to be called in versus
Come out here.
Yeah, he doesn't want to come in studio. So if you tell him it's not scary, you can come in studio.
Dave Belfort and I share multiple players. He had an incredible. Oh boy, it was like a when he had the Josh Drack on his club team, and it was an Arsenal club team that was incredible. They went to nationals twice.
Yeah. And Josh Drack went to GCU and then left to University of Denver. Is he done?
No, he is at I want to say Nashville's USL team.
USL. Okay, he's still playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to come and train here in the off season.
And Dave Belfort and I are fellow MAC conference foes. He's a Bowling Green guy. I'm a Northern Illinois guy.
Oh, well, more reason to mess with Dave.
That's right.
We haven't done a Jack and Jet battle. I know you haven't seen too many of these, if any. But, Jack and Jet had a battle. We haven't done that in a while, so let's throw in the Jack and Jet battle.
And Jack is the winner.
That's how they kind of end. Sorry about that. I didn't really set that up. There's what they did a dribbling exercise and then tried to hit the crossbar, but they always battle. They have this like their
How old's the oldest one?
Jack is 16,
and he goes to
Millennium.
Okay.
Yeah, Millennium, and he goes by the name of El Rojo. He was named by the Tuzos Academy when he was playing Tuzos. He was the only redhead on the team, so they called him El Rojo. And Jet's 11. And you were going to name your kid Jet?
Yeah, we were going to name our kid Jet or Anderson. And my wife's at the time, I liked Anderson. And at the time, my wife's boss, last name was Anderson, and she wasn't real fond of him.
That's how it worked, Anthony. So
she came out and said, "I don't think that's a good name." And I said, "All right." And he went without a name for almost 3 hours.
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
I digress.
Yeah. Well, you probably should get right into it, right? So the cost of youth sports, and in particular youth soccer, is going through the roof. And we're actually gonna show a video right now, kind of just get this podcast going. And please comment if you have any questions or you have any comments that you would like to voice. You're more than welcome. So we're gonna start with this video, and then we're gonna start talking about right now the Ponzi scheme that youth soccer might be.
Youth soccer is now one of the biggest cash cows in the country. Families are paying thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a year on their club, on private training, on futsal training, on camps, and anything else that would include like college. Not only is it a cash cow, it's actually a Ponzi scheme where they promise you a high return, but they steal everything. They are completely ripping you off and stealing your money. Here's why. You play in the best leagues because you have a patch on your shoulder, but you're actually third tier. You do play in the best facilities in the country, but then the training you have is completely mediocre. But let's not forget that you do get the benefit of playing only your age, which nobody does to play at a high level. And then finally, the best part is, but you get the best uniform. Yeah, great, because that makes you become a better player, right? Youth soccer.
Start with this.
I don't know.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There is. So, yeah, let's start with first what a Ponzi scheme is. So it's basically saying, hey, we're going to give you this. We're going to give you a pathway. And they underperform and undersell. So that's kind of like a Ponzi scheme, which will never end because there's always new parents coming in for it.
It's perpetual. And so I like what he said there is they promise you everything and they steal everything out from underneath you. And you think about how they monopolize your time, your finances. If you don't play all year round, if you're not participating in this tournament, if you're not going to go to this camp, there's an ID camp. It's like every opportunity during the week and on weekends, they're requiring your athlete to be a part of this. And if you're not, well, there's always going to be that twisting of the arm, that phone call from a coach, and it's either the team above you that doesn't have enough players for a tournament, or the team below you that needs enough players for a tournament. And you're wondering, isn't this a top-level club? How do you not have enough players? And then as a parent, you're saying, but I want to give my kid the best. And in turn, when they turn 16, 17, and guess what? That college isn't calling, or the kid says, Mom, Dad, I don't think I want to play anymore. All that time, all that money that was spent because that club monopolized everything you had as a parent.
Yep. So I was like, so there. I heard it costs anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a year to play club. So I'm like, let's find out the exact answer by going to ChatGPT, and it says the cost of youth soccer academies. That's what I put in, and the response from AI says, in the U.S., it can vary widely depending on the number of factors such as location, level of competition, level of program, and other amenities. So it says it's basically on the higher spectrum. Some of the top youth academies in the U.S. can cost upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 per year or more. These academies typically provide top-notch facilities, professional coaching staff, and competitive opportunities at the national and international level. Holy cow. I couldn't imagine at Phoenix College, which we're high level. Anthony last spring played UNLV, Cal State Fullerton, University of Washington, Phoenix Rising, Toronto FC, the USL, and we beat UNLV 1-0. We tied Cal State Fullerton 1-1. You scored against Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, and we had an own goal too, so it was,
Yeah.
it didn't really do anything.
Who had the own goal?
JP.
Oh, too bad you didn't have both. That'd be kind of cool. But we went to UNLV, beat UNLV. We tied Toronto FC, USL. And I say that because I had to buy my players. Like Anthony, I don't know if you know, how much money have I've given him a lot of money, like all of it. So I pay for his school, but I have to buy him to get him to play for me. All my players, I have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars.
What do you mean by that? Clarify for someone that's listening.
Scholarships.
Someone that's listening right now says, what do you mean you buy your players? So Anthony, he comes from high school. How does Coach Cameron buy you? What does that mean to me? I don't know.
Mostly just school stuff. That's pretty much it.
So you go to Phoenix College for free.
Yeah, and then books. That's pretty much it.
Coach, do you have an average cost of what that might be?
Too much. No, I'm just kidding.
No, go ahead. I mean,
I'm raising. I have to raise to pay for like uniforms, everything.
Yep.
Like I have to deal with this. I do get a budget, but I'm raising anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 a year. So to make sure I have a competitive program, and we can compete because I have to finance it. But if I had to
depend on
them paying me, we would suck. How am I going to get players if I'm not providing the resources to be part of it? Because we're like a real academy because things are taken care of. And it feels like it's never enough. We're always trying to get more and more.
Correct.
Do we have an echo? Is there an echo cancellation on there? Comment, let us know. Are we echo? I think we're okay.
You know, when I was it's crazy that you say that because at Corona, oh boy, probably when I had a real strong group of kids, 2008, 2009, 2010, one of the goals that I had was to make it as a positive experience as I could, similar to what you're doing. So one of my goals at that time was to raise anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 a year. And I think that's a lot for a high school at the time. Mm-hmm. At the time it was. And then once we started getting into having 3 teams, you had your freshman, sophomore, JV2, then your JV, and then your varsity. Then you're going to California for a tournament. Then you're trying to do everything you can possible to give that high school kid an experience that they may not get at the college level. But, you're talking about, I think the last 3 to 5 years, don't count COVID, but I'm saying we probably had a budget of in and out of anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 for a high school program. That's with including 3 different accounts, like your school account where you have to raise student funds, and then you have your boosters.
Yeah.
But all told, probably between $20,000 and $30,000 a year, and that includes everything that would go into outfitting 3 teams in a program.
Yeah, ours is well into 6 figures because of full-time coaches and
right.
Well, yeah, there you go. I couldn't imagine saying, I have to bring in so many players in that have to pay a dues to make sure it happens. So how could you possibly compete if you can't grab the top talent? You can't do it if it's charged. So that would be the problem. In academies in Europe, they don't do that.
Do the players have to play at the academy?
Not
if I'm a top player in London, and if I want to go to Chelsea,
no.
Am I paying?
No.
Are they going to say, hey, to Dan's parents, hey, we really like Dan. We think he's a great player. It's going to be $10,000 for him to play at Chelsea. Is that the story?
Yeah, it's not the story, but it's because we have it backwards here because it, as bad as it might sound, is they sell players. They sell kids.
Right, but again, when you think of, this MLS Next business, I'd like to see the metrics. I'd like to see the numbers of how many players are they actually getting into the next MLS team. So if you have the RSL team, if you have LA Galaxy, how many players on those next teams actually end up on that first team or close to it? Or is that just, again, what the same Salisbury steak they've been calling Olympic development, the same stuff they've been calling the same Salisbury steak. It's just repurposed at the highest level.
It makes everything average. It makes everything average.
It's
That's
like
why, that's why our national
It's
team.
like every tournament's a showcase now.
It's exactly. It makes everything average because everyone's trying to do what they need to do to make that dollar. But it definitely will cancel everything out. Do we have any comments we have to address?
I mean, everyone's just kind of saying all the prices that they all had to pay.
Is there any Arizona? Is anybody from Arizona commenting if they care to? If anybody's in Arizona listening, so we can be accurate with what we're kind of addressing here.
We got Rising ECNL was $1,300 to $1,500 plus uniforms. Girls Academy costs $8,000.
Wow.
Wait, go back to the ECNL thing. It's how much?
That one was $1,600 plus uniforms.
But that doesn't conclude going to Surf Cup and stuff, and those are $1,000.
So you got two Surf Cups now, right?
Yeah.
Everything's Surf.
So
and by the way, do you know how to add those to the show?
Let's see.
So it says add to the. This is Anthony's first time running the show. He's majoring in technology anyway, so he figures it.
He's our producer.
You just click add to broadcast.
He's our producer.
And then
Well, I just kind of dragged it over at that point, but yeah.
Yeah, you just hit add to broadcast, and you can just populate them as they come on.
But let's address if we can go down to down. So it's $1,600 for just that's the fees, and then uniforms. And again, like what I think is missing is they're going to say, well, we're going to go to, does that $1,600 include all the tournament fees? Does that $1,600 include the travel costs to the 4 out-of-state tournaments? If it's ECNL or if it's, EA or if it's MLS Next, like what, how is the added cost just ballooning that?
Well, in order to get as much money they can get from families paying for club right now, they won't tell you it's only $350 registration. Uniforms are like $240. It's only going to cost like $500 to $700. We're good. And then they're like, oh, we're going to Argentina.
Yeah,
that's our fun. Once they have you signed, and they're like, oh, let's do this. We're going to do this. Oh, we're going to enter this. We're going to do that. We're like, okay, I don't have endless pockets.
And if I can go back just for a second, when I asked all of those players that go to the MLS Next or the EA or whatever that may be, I guess the return on investment, what does that look like in regard to how many kids are playing at that level, 16, 17 years old, that actually get an opportunity to play in college? I'm not saying a scholarship. I think that's not even a thing. But how many players on Phoenix Rising, RSL, go down the line, how many of those players from their 16, 17 team actually end up playing in college? Because by the time you're 14, 15, you're probably getting told the reason why you're on this team is for the opportunity to go to college. So if you're talking 16 to 20 players on a club team, out of those 16 to 20 players at 16 to 17 years old, how many are actually playing in college?
Or if you think about it, you spend all that money and whatnot through all those years. And I mean, I coached at Brophy this year, so I kind of saw it. But a lot of our best players, no one wanted to play anymore because they're already burnt out because they went to those 4 or 5 tournaments throughout the year. They're doing, 9 o'clock practices at night until they don't get home until 11.
Brutal.
So, I mean, that's the whole other story of it.
Your brain only can take so much. And the stress and anxiety that we provide into the game because we have to win versus have to develop is just extraordinary. It's child abuse at all levels, and we all have that human experience. I mean, we just had a game Friday, and I'm part of the problem. So I have my son's team here. We're playing futsal. I was doing community outreach, and we're doing the points game, and I didn't play one of the kids because it was, of my opinion, he wasn't good enough. Now, it was a situation where I didn't recruit him to the team, and they just show up randomly, and mom came down and took her son out, and I felt bad. I still feel bad. I probably should address that. But because he was going to put us, in my opinion, in a difficult situation of getting better as a team because you couldn't connect any passes. And we were playing a high-level team. We're getting just destroyed. And it was a situation where, like, I want to win. I want to compete. That's normal. Now, I'm not screaming and yelling at the kids, but it's a normal feeling I have that anyone would have.
Right.
But that's what we're dealing with. It's just everything's just misguided far as like we have to win. And then you got parents. You didn't play my kid enough. I was going to play him in the fourth quarter. It wasn't good enough. My kid, who's potentially the worst player on the team, needs to play right now, or I'm taking him. And
Take him.
they took him, and I felt bad because it's the kid. It's not the kid's fault. You
So
know?
I've got a bit of an opinion on that, and I think where again you talk about the greediness of clubs. Every club.
Wait, let me cut you off real quick.
Please.
I would have played them if they were paying monthly fees to me. I don't want to get money. I might have played them because I need that money.
Hear me out on this. I think with the greediness of clubs where you go with 3 teams at one age group, and all 3 teams are playing the same amount of dues, right? You're going to tell me that third team is getting the same quality of coaching as the first? And hear me out. If that third team, that group of players, are they really going to advance in the game at all at the age of 14, 15, 16? If you're on the third team of a U15 club, are you really going to be playing in college, or you just want an opportunity to play? And so if clubs were to have 2 teams at each level, that's all the things we're going to do. And allow some of the kids to say, hey, either you're not good enough, go do something, or go play somewhere else. But they'll have a third team that we'll put together because we had enough kids at tryouts. And that's just let the kid know. Why would you lie to the kid and say no, and the parents say, you know what, you've got potential. Potential for what? Go learn another skill. Quit lying to the kid. You're not good at soccer. You might like to play, and that's great. We can find a rec league for you.
And the thing, we are so abusive in this country. Kids, the top talent are born that way. They're born that way. So I had a player, Naomi Aguilar. I had her father on because we talked about this because he went through the gamut of, the pay to play, and he should have stayed with me kind of thing or whatever. She was a goal scorer at 3. I created a U4 league for my daughter, Dakota, and I put all the top players. I recruited all the top 3-year-olds. She was the top goal scorer at age 3. She was born that way. And all the way to 11 before she left, she was scoring 5, 6, 7. We only won because she was going to score a hat trick. And she was unbelievable and quit soccer a couple times. I convinced her to come back. I coached her at Millennium, and she ended up getting a scholarship playing at ASU. And she quit at ASU within half the season she'd done. And it's because of all the prior knowledge of just getting screamed at, yelled at, and not being able to dribble. And she was like a little messy.
Yeah.
But she went to a club, and it's 1-touch, 2-touch soccer. Well, she wants to dribble 5 girls and score goals like Messi, and they're not allowed to because they have to win because they think system is the way to do it. Or parents are in the ears. That girl's dribbling too much. They don't pass my daughter kind of thing. There's all these manipulation, and now she's not playing anymore, and she hates soccer. We have Messis in this country that are destroyed because you can't dribble. Not allowed to dribble. How dare you do that? Comment, let us know.
And I think if we want to go that direction, I don't know how many times I've been, at a youth club practice, and the one question that I would have for coaches is, you're working on some type of approach, some type of a tactical approach, and the kids struggle. Let's just say building out of the back, and half the kids can't dribble or can't pass the ball correctly. They're using the wrong foot. They're using the wrong technique. And the coach never says anything. Just lets it continue, lets it continue, lets it continue. And then all of a sudden the game comes and it just looks like monkey soup out there because now there's pressure on the kid and they still don't have the right technique. So like when you say, like, allow the kids that have that skill to use that skill.
Yeah.
But, and again, there's time and place too to dribble. But at the same time, why are we not emphasizing the technique and skill up into a certain age? Because if you, I don't care what kind of tactical system you're going to try to play. If kids can't use technique and they don't have the ability, it all goes down the drain.
And ultimately, I know it seems like, and I get a lot of questions like, and people are scared to talk to me if they're a paid coach or whatever. I'm like, I have no problem with anyone getting paid. Make your money. Just don't lie. Don't lie. Teach the game how you want to do. Run your organization how you want to run it, but don't lie. Don't say, hey, we're going to get you a pathway to pro. Don't lie. Be honest. You still make money.
Yeah.
Just be honest.
Yeah. And it's almost like you can say, hey, you're playing with this club because it's rich in tradition and rich in the experience, but you're going to pay for that experience.
Yeah. And ultimately the development of our elite, it's U.S. Soccer's fault. It's the organization. It's not the clubs. It's not the club's job to identify talent.
No.
It's because they're all about beholden to got to run a business. And they don't want anyone taking their players or whatever it might be. They have to run their business. U.S. Soccer needs to get involved and take over the top talent and stop spending millions upon millions of dollars on facilities for our national teams and educational programs, making sure they have all the proper screens and stuff and things for the elite of the elite, but they don't go and try. They can make so much more money, U.S. Soccer, if they went in the inner cities and got the top talent and actually send them to Europe.
Correct.
They would make a killing. But it's like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. I've always said I don't understand again how when you talk about identifying the talent and let's say you've got a kid that for whatever reason comes up with through Phoenix Rising or RSL or what have you, and the kid's 10 years old. Immediately they should be going, well, wait a second, if you can you play with 12-year-olds? Can you play with 14-year-olds?
How dare you?
Right?
You're going to get them hurt.
Immediately shoot that kid up. And if that kid all of a sudden gets to that, 13, 14 years old and can physically, mentally, psychologically play with 16-year-olds, it's time for that kid to be like, hey, we need to get this kid out here.
I actually did a podcast. It was like podcast 5. I talk about biobanding. So they actually came up with biobanding where they were determining a kid's physical ability to play at a different age. And so they were approving kids to play up age, but they were doing it based on size and strength and power. I'm like, but not technique.
Oh,
what do we? Messi would never make it here. It's a crazy thing.
I just want to. There's someone who commented something. I'll put it up real quick. And I know Dave will probably disagree with this because he already made a video about it. But this is kind of for me the 3 sports and stuff and whatnot. Parents and whatnot. It's okay if kids play other sports, especially whatever. Like in high school, I played six sports in high school, and I got cut from the higher end club teams because of it, because I couldn't be at every single practice and whatnot because I had games during the season for my high school sports. But I mean, I'm going Division 1, so there's different routes for everyone and stuff.
What is that question? Is it a question or a comment? Can you read that for me? It's far away.
So
it's hard now with sports. My kids played 3 different sports, and already at 8 and 9 kids are specializing in one sport, and that's all they do. I mean,
so I would pose this to you, Anthony. Would you be a better soccer player if you just specialized in soccer?
Probably. Yeah.
Case in point.
So I mean, for me, a defender though, I mean, how much do we really work on defending and practicing and stuff? Like I say, I get my defending from basketball.
Yeah. Well, basketball actually was learned through soccer because it's the same number system, says our basketball coach here. But to your point, I think athletes are athletes. So like Zued Akuro, Zeus, we call him. He didn't play soccer growing up, and he ended up starting for us, which I didn't think was a possibility. He was on our 2019 conference championship team. The most athletic thing I've ever. If he grew up in America, he'd be NFL. He's so athletic. He was training my son yesterday how to defend corners. I have a video, but I didn't edit it yet, but I'll show it maybe next week. But we call him Zeus because he 40-inch vertical. He's a handball player, and he's just next level. He's so athletic. We were looking for a goalkeeper, and we went to watch him. Like, he's toe poking the ball. I'm like, nah, I can't do it. And Carmen, my goalkeeper coach, says, okay, let me work with him. I'm like, okay. He comes and works with Carmen, but he's so athletic. We're like, you know what, Zeus, are you willing to play with us? And if we go PKs, we're going to put you in. He goes, sure, coach. And then the next thing we know, we're like, hey, we're trying to get 7-on-7. I'm like, Zeus, can you play the field? Sure. He goes up on a corner, gets crossbar height, his whole body above the crossbar, heads it in, and we're like, what the freak was that? And so we go, Zeus, all right, not only will we put you in for PKs, but corner kicks. We're going to sub you in for corner kicks. Then he was learning the game because he's a superhuman athlete. And he ended up starting for us at the 6th position. And I never in a million years thought an athlete could learn something that quick in a game of soccer. I've never seen it since, but athletes can figure it out.
Well,
I think you're an athlete.
I think to what you were saying, Anthony, is there are so many different variables in each sport that you can take with the one that comes the most natural to you. So you're probably a natural athlete, but soccer comes to you easily. But when you played basketball, because you were a soccer player, it made you better at basketball. And if I were to say, Anthony, you're going to go, did you ever play football?
Yeah.
Okay. So in football, I guarantee, in tight spaces, one-on-one, whether if you were a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back, you didn't have to think about your footwork. You didn't have to. But all those little things that you learned from those sports, the competitiveness, the time that it takes to get really good at, just hitting that mid-range jumper in basketball, or the angles you had to take to cut to the basket are all so similar. And all those little things that you learn in multiple sports. And I'll say some of the best soccer players are tennis players, just because of the footwork.
And UFC fighters. It's true. The Brazilians, man. But to your point, Dan, is the mentality side's different. The mental side of competing is different with someone that's probably doing multiple sports that's competing, but like you've won state titles not only in soccer, but you've competed in trophy football's no joke. Back in the day, were they any good when you were there?
We were decent playoffs.
Yeah, but you're in those situations. I think that's different. But at the highest level, so you're thinking in America, you go to Europe, you go to Spain, like their worst players are unbelievable. Brazilians, same way.
Right.
So it'd be hard to compete with that. They're just so crazy technical. But you do bring a different, Gonzaga's in heaven. They don't even know it yet. It says he can throw in the ball like flipping 60 yards. Ridiculous. Like tactically.
Right.
Like he'll get a throw a diagonal ball, skipping.
Right.
I think you got player of the game.
Breaking lines.
In the national championships, you did a throw in that led to an assist.
To Zeke, yeah.
That
was like a 50-yard throw too.
Yeah, he started the counter, and it's not just throwing and hoping. His is tactically driven,
right,
which is different. He recognizes switching balls and all that.
I got a question for you though, Anthony. When you said that you didn't get an opportunity to go with, possibly some club teams, obviously you're good enough to play at a Division I. And I don't understand why a club would say, Anthony, we don't want you in the spring, or we don't want you in the fall because you're not giving us a commitment, even though you're like, Coach, I want to go run track. I'm going to run track, and I'm a 200 runner. I'm a hurdler, you know, and why not allow the kid to go do that? But then, you know, understand, hey, when I come back, I'm all for you, Coach Cameron. I want to play for you. And I have a big problem again with that, with other sports or clubs, again, that dominated kids that said, oh, we don't want you to play high school soccer because we want you to make a commitment to us. And I've always thought, and in the mentality of the conversation should go, hey, Coach Cameron, I really enjoy playing with you, but I've also made a commitment to my high school. I enjoy playing with my teammates, the kids I grew up with, for that experience. And I promise you, on February 1st or whatever it is, my high school season's over, I'm all yours. But until then, my commitment is with my high school, and I appreciate the opportunity. That right there is an adult conversation. And if you as an adult say, you know what, Anthony, that's not fair. I don't know. That's just a bad adult decision.
It's horrible. They're robbing kids of high school.
Yeah.
High school is amazing for those kids to represent your school, to get different crowds, to be with different people from other clubs. It brings a bonding that never can change. I remember more from my high school days than club.
Anybody else?
Than club.
Exactly. I mean, it's the closest thing to college sports anyways, because you go to any college game, they have fans heckling you and stuff. When do you ever have that in club games? You got parents screaming at you.
You're right, and you got grandma that made it out for the Saturday morning game at 10.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember so many great high school games. I remember beating Brophy in overtime, and I had a hat trick in overtime, and against Derek Burnell, who was state president here and stuff. But he's now an ODP. He's a big player. But I remember so many. I remember when we played Horizon in the region final, and we had a basketball game same time, and our game went in overtime to shoot.
And the game let out.
The whole game
That's
came out.
happened at Corona a couple times.
Oh, isn't that the coolest thing? And they're all, because it's their team, it's their colors. We I don't know how many, but it was so loud. And Mike Bibby played basketball, so it was sold out.
Yeah.
So they all came to watch us play, and we won in PKs.
Well,
you can't recreate that. Club can't give you that. Club can't give you 2,000 people in a penalty kick situation.
Right. No. And we had. So this would have been 2018. We went into PKs with Pinnacle, and it was a Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. game, and our student section. I don't know how many we had it on video. It was packed at Pinnacle.
I was there.
Okay.
It was packed.
It was, and what was great about it, and again, I remember my wife, telling me this. She's like, "Oh my gosh, those Pinnacle kids were obnoxious. I can't hear them. I'm on the other side." But I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I love that.
As a player on the field, that's the greatest thing. Like Brophy and Shap are rivals, right? So our state final game was Brophy Shap 1-2 my senior year, and I mean, I knew a bunch of Shap kids that were in the stands, and they're all heckling me the whole time. Every single time I was on their sideline, and that's probably the most fun I've ever had playing the game.
And so, if you're playing, let me ask you this: Have you ever played at let's say when you have to? I don't even know if they call it a state championship anymore in club. Do they call that a state championship, or you just go on to some other league? I don't know.
No.
Okay, so So then, how do you even make it to like nationals or regionals for club?
You got the state.
They have
final.
They have so many.
Changed it so
they
many
have so many pathways and different.
Yeah.
They minimize it.
Yes.
And there's no crowds.
No. So that was my point. I wanted to know if you were playing a club championship, who showed up to that?
No one. Maybe little kids in the club if we're an older team.
Right.
And that's about it.
In the 90s, Anthony.
Oh.
State finals for club was huge. Huge. I remember, and everyone knew, like, I played in Asylum, and Cisco Asylum, and we played another Cisco team, which they're called Arizona National, and we were both, and we it was double elimination, and when we got to the third game of because we each beat each other, I think there were 750 people at the game at Rose Mofford, which is a lot.
Well, and
It was
again,
loud.
and I'm saying coming, and from my experience being from Illinois in just south of the Chicagoland area, you had kids that were at the time, probably 16, 17, that it was legit state cup. And so you would have kids, and ours was the Soccer 75s. That was like the top team.
But
But here's the beauty of it. I never played on a really great club team. I think I made it the closest probably to a semifinal, the club team that I played for. But to your story, you knew who were on the other 3 or 4 club teams, and you went to the game because every one of those kids was probably a Division I player. And you're just like, wow, man, there's like 4 kids going to Indiana. There's 1 kid going to Clemson. And you're just like, wow, look at these kids and how good they are.
You're totally like helping me recall memories. So I used to watch the Monarchs play. That was the age up, and they were stacked. They were stacked with talent. And the Hellions, those were the top teams, and they all went D1 and pro.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the top players. And I remember Ray Walcott, Jason Vanacore, all these players that now I can recall, but we would go watch them at Rose Mofford is kind of where everything was.
Yeah.
Because we knew those top players were there. We were watching them. But now,
Where
do
are
you
they
go?
I mean, like,
So like even let's say this. Are those the MLS players now?
Who?
But that's what I'm saying. Are those players playing MLS right now? Those top players, or are they
burnt out or whatever.
or are they just scrambling around going, no, I don't want to do that. I want to play for my high school.
Yeah.
And you have such a mixed bag, a potpourri of where's the best talent competing, because at that point in the 90s, you were competing against the best.
How did Greg Vanny make the national team and go pro and play for Chelsea? How? He played high school?
Well,
He took a break from club?
You're kidding.
How did he do that? Remember Brophy did the replay game. So when Brophy and Cronin del Sol,
Marcos Niza.
Marcos Niza is tied, and they're co-champions. So 20 years later, they played the game again. Remember? you didn't know about that?
I read it in the story. I read the story.
Yeah, it was a big deal because Derek Brunell was on that team, and then they got their teams together and they played a grudge match, or just
I wouldn't call it a grudge.
Well,
those guys can barely move.
We won a champion. Well, shoot, Greg was still like a year in retirement, so he was fit, and Derek Brunell's always fit. It was a good game.
Well, here's a little sound clip from that state championship game. Like this was just from one of the goals. Let me see if it'll play.
You know, you can airdrop it.
Oh, I can.
Airdrop it to the laptop, and we can see it.
You know, if anybody's listening from the Chicagoland area, I'm gonna drop a couple names, and you had, go ahead.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, when do you ever hear that in a club game, remotely close to that?
No,
You can't pay for that.
No.
Or they don't have the budget to bus people in.
No.
So
no, but in Illinois we had the Soccer 75s, which was one of the original club teams in the nation, and had Mike Fisher on it. I know if Mike Fisher played at Virginia and was the Herman Trophy winner 2 times, and he was the first draft pick in the MLS, and he decided, no, I'm going to become an orthopedic surgeon. No thanks.
Mike Fisher that is here?
No. Mike Fisher. Mike Fisher would have been. He was a University of Virginia player.
Yeah.
But
he called it done, huh?
yeah, he would have been the first draft pick. He was the first draft pick in the MLS. I want to say 19. So that would have been 93. It'd have been 1996, 97 draft, because he was at Virginia from 93 to 96.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's on the Century team for NCAA.
Yeah.
And but that was the talent I'm talking about. Like you had you had him and Mike Dunn, who was, they went to the same high school, Batavia High School, They went to high school. Believe it or not, they played high school on the same team. One was the Gatorade National Player of the Year, Mike Fisher, and the other one was Mike Dunn. Mike Dunn goes to Duke. Mike Fisher goes to Virginia. Both played soccer 75s. Both played high school. All 4 years at varsity. But you see where they got.
We're so confused on how talent is created. It's not created by clubs.
No,
it's culture. It's your neighborhood. It's your town. It's where you're from. That's where it's made. Like I remember I was watching this documentary. This guy did a documentary of trying to identify why our high-level elite athletes of the world come from these small little towns, like the Kenyans, to be able to run. They actually, in Kenya, it's a small town in Kenya that produced like 5 world champions.
Right.
It's because of culture, because they all ran everywhere. Like even grandma would run to the store. They didn't do anything like that. And then ping pong or table tennis. There was 3 world champions who grew up 2 blocks.
Right.
Because it's culture. It's the neighborhood gets played all the time.
And too, I'll say this. What's wild is again, growing up just outside Chicago, they have Team Chicago Soccer Club, and there's this gentleman by the name of Hudson Fortune that runs the club. And when I was in college, I had an opportunity to work at his facility, and it's a small little facility outside Naperville, Illinois, called Play USA. And Hudson, the only thing he believed in, he was Brazilian as well. I think he did some type of missionary work in Brazil. But his philosophy with little kids and his camps were so incredible. All he wanted kids to do was do moves. He had 3 girls that played on the U.S. national team, on the same team when they were all grown up. So you had his daughter by the name of Leah Fortune was on the Brazilian national team because she had dual citizenship. And then there was Vanessa DiBernardo, who plays on the Chicago Red Stars, who's the daughter of DiBernardo. He played on Indiana too. But anyway, there was one other girl played at University of West Virginia. Rodriguez, I believe, was her name. But all 3 girls grew up from the time they started soccer at 4 or 5. All grew up in the same neighborhood, like you're saying. All played on the same soccer team growing up, and all that's incredible. And they were all within 2 blocks of each other, 3 blocks or 3 miles of each other. It's in the same neighborhood.
It happened all the time, but now it doesn't happen anymore.
No, because I think one or two of those parents gets greedy and like, oh, I got to take my kid somewhere else because that girl's getting all the IG fame. I gotta get my 7-year-old's own IG page so I can pump them up all the time.
Well, Santos 75, 76, actually 75, 76, 77, 78, but just within the 76 organization, Santos, a small club, produced Pablo Mastroni, who played on the national team, Evan Whitfield, who played on the national team, Duke University, Chicago Stars. Right. Pablo Mastroni is coaching in Salt Lake for RSL, the MLS team. Ryan Turner, who played at Notre Dame. Just all this talent from one little group. And they played all over the world, just craziness. Just because
they played high school?
Yeah, they all played high school.
No way.
Yeah, how dare they? Ironwood, Brophy, Deer Valley, they're.
And again, you
crazy.
Can't tell me. I'm sorry, but you can't tell me that the high school coaches, and hear me out on this. I don't know your high school coach, but you can't tell me the high school soccer coaches of the early 90s, the late 80s into the early 90s are as good as some of the high school coaches today. There's no way. And those kids played.
Yeah. My high school coach.
I mean, come on. He was a science
teacher. Cross country. Yeah, he was science. Tom Hetherington. He was the science coach. He was a science teacher, and he was hilarious. Like, everyone loved him as a teacher. Very loud, obnoxious kind of teacher.
Right.
But we liked it as kids. I'm sure staff did it. But 12 cups of coffee every day. But he would always run with us, too. I remember he would outrun us all. And he's in his 40s. But yeah.
Well, there's
We somehow made it.
there's like a stigma, I would say, that all the kids know in high school and whatnot, that all the club coaches say you're not going to get the same training
Oh yeah.
that you'll get if you stay in club.
It happened to me. I remember.
I'll put up my training to any club coach there is.
Well, I mean, exactly. Like
my club coach had me convinced to leave. Like I was not going to come back. And I remember telling my high school coach at the time, I'm like, hey, I'm going to stay with my club. They had me convinced because they wanted me to play full time there. And then I told them I was going to quit, but ultimately I came back and didn't do that. Thank gosh. But yeah, they're always trying to get you to stay with them because they want those fees for 10 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not 8.
Exactly.
And I guess too, being a former high school coach, the difference, and I think you might have asked me this in one of the questions, if it was this week or last week, but the difference from a club coach and being a high school coach, and you might know this, is especially being on campus, you get to know those kids so much more personally to be able to affect their lives in a positive way, because you know what motivates them, you know what makes them laugh, you know what makes them upset, you know what again motivates them to a certain extent. And I'm not quite sure that there, and again, I'm not going to, with a broad stroke say this with all club coaches, but do club coaches that coach 2 or more teams really know their players personally as well as a high school coach? And you're saying your science teacher coach, what was his name? Tom Hetherington. And again, Tom may not know the X's and O's, but the kids knew who that guy was, and that guy cared. And I think that's lost sometimes, is that parents and players, like what you're saying, the narrative of my high school coach may not be the X's and O's guy, but that high school coach cares more about you and your well-being than that club coach may or may not. But you may have I might have a kid in my class, or I may not, but I get a chance to see, hey, every once in a while, hey, we're going to have lunch today. Come in my classroom. I'm buying pizza. And we get to know kids. Or if we do something outside of school, I know we have a PE class, and we would have Champions League tournament in the spring. And it was just as wild and as silly as I could make it. And the kids loved it, and at the end, you got a Gatorade shower and a trophy for winning. But it was something that the kids would remember because their high school coach cared enough to organize all that. From a club standpoint, when does that happen? When do you hang out with your buddies in club?
Rarely.
Rarely.
Unless they went to school with me.
But unless they went to school with you. And again, like, how did you know if your club coach... Did your club coach ever yell at you?
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, but did they but was it more of circumstance, or because they were just mad at you at the moment, because they were mad at you as or upset with you because they knew you could do better, or they just upset with you because you didn't do something right on the field? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where going back to your original statement, that narrative of, that high school isn't as good as club. Like, it's just different. But the experience could be a lot more valuable in 3 months than you learn over 9 months, playing, And did you get a chance to play for Kelly or no? You just coached along with him?
Coached with him, yeah.
Okay. And they're probably a considerable different style than Coach Allen and then Coach Kelly, correct?
Yeah.
Totally different, right? But great guys.
Exactly.
And they're both, they have a different approach for sure. Mm-hmm. But you're a better player and a better person because you gave yourself that opportunity to experience those individuals that cared like crazy about you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what you're saying earlier about the teachers and whatnot and their coaches and stuff, like Mark would just have FIFA tournaments every semester. Every single time there was a game on, it would always be playing in his art studio and whatnot. And there would probably be close to 50 kids in his classroom at lunchtime every single day. And like, you don't get that anywhere else.
No. And I wonder, I wonder if we're all preaching, both of us are sitting here talking, Dave, and I wonder if that speciality of that coach, that person is it's a dinosaur now. That's what I feel my position has become. Like, how are you going to find a recent college graduate like yourself? You're going to go and you're going to go to Gonzaga, you're going to graduate, and let's say you're going to major in English. You want to be an English teacher. Are you going to go to a high school and say, I want to be the high school coach and get $3,500 for the season? And then go coach club, hear me out, and then go coach maybe a team or two, maybe a couple U10, U12 teams, just to kind of get your teeth, cut, coaching, finding your voice. And then, hey, you know what? I'm not going to coach club anymore. I want to just stick with my high school for $3,500. Yeah. Or are you going to go, no, I'll go do one team for $12,000. You want $3,500 or $12,000?
You're going to take the $12,000.
You're going to take the $12,000 because my question to you, Dave, is that person around anymore that says, I want to graduate college and just coach high school all year round?
Yeah.
I think that also goes back to the culture of your school, of where you're at, though.
Okay.
Because, let's say you're at a school that doesn't really give a crap about athletics, then, yeah, you're going to go play. You're going to go to the club scene and get paid. But if you're going to be, a school that has culture and stuff like Corona, Brophy, all these bigger schools that have, care about their athletics and stuff, I wouldn't mind staying around that.
Right.
But
okay, but my question is this. Are you staying around year-round and not going to coach a club team, but so that you are running off-season practices in the spring? Are you going to run a preseason right after school in the fall? Or are you going to coaching club teams? You see what I just now exactly. Again? So my thing is Dave. I know you're a high school coach. I guarantee that if you wanted to in the spring right now, if you wanted to run, hey girls, we're going to do a fun 3-on-3 tournament, you would have the time to do it, wouldn't you? And in the summer, you're going to say, girls, we're going to do a morning workout, we're going to do futsal, we're going to do all this because you have time to do it.
Yeah, and to kind of the decision I made in 2012. We had an average year. We were 11 and 11, or we're 500, and it was bad. I felt really horrible, and I felt the pressure of I'm not doing enough because I was doing club and everything. It was too much, so I quit club, and I put all my time and energy into here, which was a huge pay cut, $30,000, just to invest time in here because I know what the potential could be.
Correct.
And 2013 came along because I put all my time in. We had our first sellout game. Got the kids playing in front of 2,000 people, which eventually got to just under 4,000. I was fundraising, doing everything. In 2013, I got them Copa shoes, 3/4 pants. Don't hold me to this and get mad. But I had them running shoes. They had indoor shoes.
The 3/4 pants was important.
back then, they got a lot of stuff. But I put all my time and energy.
That's probably where Brad Swemby got him.
Probably, and it changed everything. That's when PC elevated was 2013 because I gave everything, financially, whatever, and I made my life about that, and that's why we had successes.
What did you just say? You made what? I made my life about that.
Yeah, I made everything about that.
You made everything about that.
Yeah. I gave everything to this program.
And who benefits the most?
The kids.
100%.
And I definitely benefit because I'm changing lives.
Yeah.
But
that's
serving is when you serve, you can overcome addiction, mental disease, anything you can overcome it. And who is Anthony? Let's talk to him.
No.
Okay. So I love that coach. I heard this from what's his name? Ryan Leaf.
Right. Oh yes.
So
yes,
Ryan
yes,
Leaf came and spoke here, and we had a chance to listen to him, and he talked about his story about he lost everything, addicted to drugs, arrested, all that stuff, and he goes how he overcame his addiction was when he was in jail. He was serving by teaching inmates how to read, and then it kind of clicked. He wasn't addicted anymore. It wasn't selfish about himself. He was about others. And then to this day, he still drives those that need to go AA. He drives them like Uber for free and takes them and tells them his story and stuff and has a talk. And he goes, if you want to overcome any addiction, anything, any problem in your life, serve others.
Yeah, he's great. He's done I think Rich Eisen's talk show and stuff like that, and he talks quite a bit. It's really it's valuable listening to his story, and even he says like, I'm right now what I'm doing is helping me. He's talked about that. So
I mean,
but yeah,
I'll give another little experience too, like Dave. Like, I'm only 21 years old and stuff, been out of high school for 3 years and whatnot, but my first year of high school, I made high 30s my freshman year or whatever, just by working all the time and whatnot and stuff. But this year, I was probably barely made 12,000, and that's because I put all my time into either soccer with here and then the high school time. And I would say my quality of life, if you want to per se, was better this year than it was that first year. So like Dave said, there's a difference that you feel. So yeah.
And I talked to an alumni recently who played here, got a pretty decent scholarship to go to a certain university, but he was struggling like financially. All this, he was living in the locker rooms, like he couldn't afford to live and stuff. He was struggling, but he was so happy because
that's incredible.
And now he got an amazing job, and now he can, he's financially set, and now he's miserable.
No, I don't mean to laugh, but that's
true.
That's true.
That's why millionaires commit suicide a lot.
That's
so.
But again, I think going back to the whole argument of, what is a parent going to get out of club more than they're going to get out of high school, and how do you give a product to a kid that kind of satisfies that parent's need, and I think that's where parents get a bit jaded because they're paying for what they want to hear in club, and it's like, wow, they can be really proud of their kid, in either high school or club, but it's like that real experience that kid gets, that being at a big game, whether they're playing or not, if they're part of that team and the culture makes the kid feel like he's part of the team, I think that's what the valuable experience is. You don't have to be the star of the team, but again, for that parent to be like, wow, man, I'm glad my athlete, boy or girl, my athlete played, and got that experience. I think that's invaluable.
The question for that is then you ask your kid, what do you want? Are you happy, whatever? Because high school time, that 15 through 18 years old time age or whatever, the question has to be is what the kid wants to do. Because, your parent knows what everything like that and stuff, but if the kid's miserable and stuff, that's where they get burnt out.
Yeah.
So, Dan's always breaking records for longest shows ever.
Like, sorry.
No, I love it. Like, it flies by. So
yeah, we'll wrap it up, Coach.
Dan, well, I want to take some questions.
Okay.
Always take some. Is there any questions we need to address? Because there's a lot of comments.
Let's see.
That's a good thing, Coach.
It is every time you're on.
Why are women's U.S. soccer better at finding talent than the men's side?
Well, I think it's more of we have freedom in this country, and everywhere else on the women's side, they don't have freedom. Like women are allowed to play sports. In Brazil, you know how they organize the Brazilian national team? Remember when Brazil beat the U.S. 4-0 in the semifinals in, I think it was 2008 or some off year. But the U.S. beat Brazil 8-0, and then the following World Cup cycle, Brazil beat us 4-0. How's that possible? So the coach, I heard from the national team coach, it was that whole Hope Solo drama that occurred.
Sure.
And anyways, he asked the Brazilian national team, like Greg Ryan.
Yes,
it was the coach. he asked the Brazilian national staff, and he's like, where'd you get these players? And so what they did is they went to the streets of Brazil and found 132 girls that were playing against men on the streets because they don't have anything organized for them. And then that's where they found Marta.
I was just going to say, is that where they found Marta?
Yeah, on the streets.
Beast.
So their 132 player pool versus our 120,000 pool beat us 4-0. So if Brazil took it serious and really cared, and they're always producing these crazy players, but if they put money towards it like we do, they'll crush us. The men's side, it's about money. It's about they have to have the best teams. That's why we'll never compete until we get our act right. But that's a great question.
Yeah.
But it's also, you have to understand it's a freedom. And that's why in Europe, they're actually taking it more serious. And that's why they're getting better. And it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Culture will figure it out.
And then there's another one. Where would you, what age would you draw the line that it's appropriate to start paying more for practices per se? Like, versus, let's say middle school, 8th grade versus high school. Is that where you draw the line of where, all right, now we have to start taking it serious? The college journey starts to take place versus, or does it start back in like 5th, 6th grade?
No.
It's all dependent on what we're looking at. Because if you have the parent goggles on, you think your kid's amazing. Like my son's an amazing player, and everyone's like, oh, he's going to go D1. No, he's going to come to Phoenix College. Oh, that's beneath. No, it's not. Like I could say my son, like if you compare him worldwide, he's not professional level. He might become that. I don't know, but that's why I had him against Zeus. Here's what a Premier League player looks like. Where are you at? He ran him over like he was great. I mean, there's levels. Now, I just want my son to be happy. Just love the game.
Exactly.
If my son just loves the game and plays it for the rest of his life, indoor league or whatever, I'm the happiest parent in the world. But I'm not going to push for that. My son, you know where he learned his technique? It wasn't from me. I put him in playing with Tuzos. The kids taught him. His coaches were average, if that. The players taught him how to play. Culture developed him. I was smart enough to put my son with good programs, release him to Hispanic. He was playing Friday Night League at 9. I have video of him scoring goals where there wasn't any white kids in the whole park. It was totally illegal. Like no one had player passes, nothing. And I put him in those leagues because the coach didn't speak English. That's where I threw him every Friday because I knew that was where you get better. It's not for, your dad's a college coach. I'm average. I'm smart enough to know if I grew up in a Hispanic culture with my athleticism, I would have been a completely different player. Culture. It's always culture. You want to save money? Get them on 2-3 different teams. Put them in adult league.
Yeah.
Like the Hispanics play, they're playing 12, they're playing like 18-year-old adult league 20 plus.
Yeah, I think that's true when you watch, I had the opportunity to call a couple games with San Luis this year, and you can tell just the physicality of San Luis against Brophy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, the physicality against even, in the state championship game, Perry. Just, it was different. I mean, it's like they're playing against their 32-year-old uncle, and then they got to go back home and hear about it, So, but to go back to that question, you said, at what age would you expect to pay more? I think here would be a good barometer, and hear me out on this. If your kid is a freshman and makes a varsity soccer team, make sure that kid plays on a better club team the following spring, the following year. If he's good enough as a freshman, then I would say get that kid playing against better competition as soon as possible. But if your kid is a freshman in high school and just makes the JV team, keep them where they're at. Keep them where they're at. Maybe their sophomore year. If they make varsity, kind of gauge it. Where do you want to go from there? But if immediately they're on a freshman team getting a lot of playing time, man, find a better club team.
find a good coach.
Yep.
I mean, like, so I had my son at Tuzos to learn the culture till age 15, and we just moved him to Excel because we put him in front of Striker Aguilar, who I think is a very talented coach as far as explaining the system and numbers. He doesn't scream from the sideline. I'm willing to pay for that. I'll put time into that because I know Striker Excel. I say Striker. I don't say, oh, just throw him Excel. I say Striker. I pick coaches. I don't pick clubs.
Great point.
And I don't know if my son is outgrown Striker. Like, is there another environment for him? A different coach? If you can get your kid around a bunch of high-level coaches, like if Diego was here still, our coach, unbelievable.
Exactly.
Youth coach. I would go Striker. If Diego was available, I'd go Diego. If I could afford V, I'd go to V, kind of go that route because I want my son to learn. And it's better to learn from many coaches versus if you get one bad coach, it could
destroy you.
End them. You would pay mass money to avoid that.
Yes.
So be very careful.
Yeah. And again, right with that too, I think parents be mindful. If you want a good coach, that may mean less playing time because there's a lot of good players on that team. But the fact that they're getting that training, that mentality, I've got a sneaky suspicion that good coach is going to mind bend the kid a little bit and make him understand, no, it's okay. I'm not getting a lot of playing time. The fact that I'm with this guy 2 to 3 days a week is what's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that about Diego. The stuff he talked about all the time and whatnot, that still plays a huge part of my life right now, and it's almost a year and a half later.
And I'm still trying to learn it. Because
Exactly.
Diego played he played at SMU, All-American, lost in the semifinals nationals, played in the World Cup, the Club World Cup, which is a big deal out of Brazil. And then he played in Asia, Australia, like high-level pro. And he says this. He says if he could do it all over again, if he learned how to deal with mindfulness and learn like the teachings of Power of Now, to learn how to breathe and control your energy and stuff, he said he would have been a completely different player. And I've jumped on that. Like, so Anthony was part of our first region championship, which Phoenix College, we're the only team to ever, on the men's side, only team to ever win it is PC. And we've won it back-to-back now. But our first year, we started off tough. We lost our first 2 games. I haven't lost our first 2 games since like 2012. Like it was like
and it was like 4-0, 4-1, something like that.
Too. No, 1-0 we lost. We lost 3 in a row. We lost to Pima at Pima 1-0. Then we lost to Western 4-3 in overtime. And then we lost to PV, which is unacceptable. And we lost like 4-2 or something.
Yeah.
It was bad. But we were focused on Power Now and the energy and starting that way and then finishing the way we finished and how we finished. This is like the craziest thing. So we've been focused on energy and Power Now, all the, earthly stuff that people are like, whatever. But for me, I need it because I'm a little nuts and I need to calm down. And so
I don't know anything about that.
So we make the championship game. We're playing in Tucson, and it was like we're the refs are robbing us. Gave them a PK, and luckily got overturned. They were down 1-0, but the sideline and everyone was okay. We weren't angry. We're just staying focused, and energy was good, and you felt it. You felt the energy, and we just knew we were gonna win. In a place we have never won. PC's never won at Pima until 2 years ago. Yeah. And now it's on repeat mode. But
Pima was the national championship too.
Yep.
So that's incredible competition.
The reigning national champion versus us.
Yeah.
And we had to win to go to nationals or we're not going. So we were down 1-0. We tied it in the second half. We went in overtime, went to PKs. I thought we were the better team, but we weren't getting any calls, and we're in somewhere where we've never won as a program. Never won there. Under my coaching, I won there as a player because I didn't lose back here when I played for PC. But anyways, we ended up winning in shootouts where we knew we were going to win, especially Bobo. Bobo bought in, our keeper.
Oh, yeah.
He was all in. He knew we were going to win. Everyone knew we were going to win, and it just felt that way. And you felt the energy. And when we won, me and Diego, instead of sprinting to celebrate, the kids all did that. Me and Diego we're just taking it in. We looked at each other, had tears of joy.
Yeah.
Gave each other a hug. And it was just like, it was amazing. It was a cool environment to be a part of it. And so I got a glimpse of the power of shared energy and being on the same page and all that, and just not freaking out and just being calm. It was such a cool experience. And remember, we had some coaches that didn't finish with us because they were out of control, screaming, yelling. And when we removed that, it was a good thing, because one person can ruin it all.
Yeah.
Energy. Everyone has buy-in. It was cool. And I'm constantly trying to figure out, how do I get back there? How do I figure it out and maintain that? And that's a hard balance.
That's a tough puzzle.
That's why I like coaching. It never can be figured out.
Right.
And how to manage having the tactics, the talent, and the energy, and trying to help save lives through the sport of soccer, because it does.
Yeah.
It's such a cool environment, and it's hard because you're also trying to save your life. So you're like, and your family and all the other things, and you're getting pulled so many different directions, but there's moments you can figure it out, and it's just pure joy.
Pure joy.
So
pure joy.
Yeah. Well,
Anthony,
thank you, man.
you did a great job tonight.
Yeah.
Let's end it on that, Dave. Nice job.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next Sunday, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. Like and subscribe. Be part of the podcast and help support. Obviously, comment, hit the notification bell, all those things, and help support.
Thanks to all the people with the comments.
Yes. Thank you for participating. We'll be back next Sunday, live, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
You have to hit end show.
Oh, shit.
Dan said end show. Yeah.
Where does it say that at?
On the bottom.
Oh. You never showed me that.
Yeah.
Finish?
Yeah, hit finish.
Oh.